Hundreds of thousands of people have taken to the streets in cities and towns all over France to defend their way of life after 3 bloody days of terrorist violence. And in just a few hours, 1 million more are expected to join 40 world leaders in solidarity in the centre of Paris. As the country rallies after the Charlie Hebdo massacre and supermarket siege, police are working to confirm if a woman they'd been hunting had in fact fled to Syria before the attacks. Europe correspondent Mary Guerin reports from Paris.
Strength in numbers. Across France, of all religions, of no religion, they showed their unity with their besieged Parisian compatriots. Applause for the victims in otherwise silent marches. This show of solidarity comes on the eve of a unity rally in the French capital. Up to 1 million are expected, and a massive security effort involving snipers, hundreds of police officers and more than 1,000 troops. The government has urged Parisians to attend, insisting it will be safe.
It will be an unprecedented demonstration that will go down in history. It will show the strength and dignity of the French people, who will shout their love of freedom and tolerance. Come in your numbers.
But the city is tense. Police sift through the site of the supermarket siege in Porte de Vincennes after the attack by Amadi Koulibaly. A massive manhunt continues for Hayat Boumediene, his girlfriend, who's been implicated in the deadly attack. Considered armed and dangerous. But there are now suggestions that she'd left France just before the recent acts of terror and is now in Syria. Information that just adds to the country's sense of confusion and shock.
Because it's no longer like before. You go out and you don't know whether you'll come home, and that makes you afraid.
Raymond lives near the targeted store and is still shaken.
It was surrealist. It was like a film.
This market is just down the road from the store where the hostage drama unfolded yesterday. Today, as you can see, Parisians are just trying to get on with their lives, even as their government warns them to remain vigilant.
Honnêtement, normal. Là, on n'a plus peur. Jusqu'à la prochaine.
This man tells me, honestly, life is back to normal. We're not afraid, at least until the next time.
You'll go to the rally tomorrow? Why?
For the Republic.
For the Republic?
Yeah.
The rally in Paris will be a public display of strength, but in private, healing is still a long way off for the victims' loved ones. The family of one of the policemen murdered outside the Charlie Hebdo offices, Ahmed Merabet, faced the media in a sombre press conference.
Ahmed, homme d'engagement?
Ahmed, a dedicated man. Wanted to take care of his mother and his relatives following the death of his father 20 years ago.
Ahmed Merabet's family had one message, that mad people have neither colour nor religion. Mary Guerin, ABC News, Paris.
As the messages written in grief emerge, so do the remarkable stories of the survivors. Some are being hailed heroes for helping hostages and directing police to the 3 gunmen behind the attacks. Europe correspondent Barbara Miller also reports from Paris.
4 hostages didn't make it out of here alive, but many did, some apparently thanks to a Muslim employee of the kosher supermarket. A father and his young son among them, led to a freezer by the employee, where they spent the next 4 or 5 hours, cold and fearful, but safe.
I opened the exit door and the ones who were with me ran out. The police told me to put my hands on my head. It was all a bit confusing. When the hostages came out, they all congratulated me for having helped them, and I just said it was a normal thing to do.
The dramatic end to the standoff with the Charlie Hebdo killers at a printing business north of Paris. One hostage, the owner, was released before the brothers were killed. As the heavily armed men arrived, he told his employee to hide and went to face them.
I'd never been in a situation like this before. I heard them go up the stairs, and since I could not hide too, I went towards them. They didn't know about Lillian. They asked me 3 times if I was alone, and I said yes every time.
Liliane Lepere spent the day in a box, texting information to the police. His boss's actions appear to have saved not just him, but a customer who arrived during the standoff. The manager convinced the Kouachi brothers to let him go. The bravery of these unlikely heroes, some comfort to a country reeling from 3 days of terror. Barbara Miller, ABC News, Paris.
And Mary Guerin has been covering this story since it began and joins me now from Paris. Mary, what's the latest on the search for the partner of one of the gunmen?
Well, Nicole, she is still at large. We have those reports now from police sources, unnamed Turkish security officials, saying that in fact she might not even have been here in Paris during any of those recent terror attacks, that she could have arrived in Istanbul as early as January the 2nd and from there gone to Syria and simply disappeared, which of course makes this an international manhunt and increases exponentially the difficulty of authorities catching her. A few more details have come out about her life. She's one of 7 children. She was put into foster care at an early age after her mother died. Counter-terrorism units here in France have painted a picture of her from their interrogations of her previously, that she presents as a woman sympathetic with her boyfriend's radical views. She is still considered dangerous, therefore, and yes, she is still at large.
So what's the mood there in Paris ahead of the massive march that's planned for later today?
Nicole, I have to say it's one of determination and anticipation. There's a real buzz here, even hours beforehand. I'm in the Place de la République, that's where it's going to start. It goes about 3 kilometres down the road here. And I was talking to a taxi driver this morning, said, are you going to come? And he said, of course I will, it's my duty. And I think that really sums it up. As I say, 1 million people surrounded by massive security. The government has called on people to come out here and have that show of solidarity. I don't think there's any doubt that the people of Paris will respond.
Mary Guerin reporting there from Paris.